For more than 2 years, Russia has projected an image of resilience despite sanctions, battlefield setbacks, and international isolation. But this week, Ukraine delivered a powerful reminder that the war is reaching places once considered untouchable. Early Wednesday morning, Ukrainian long-range drones struck targets in and around St. Petersburg, Russia's second largest city. Vladimir Putin's hometown and one of the country's most strategically important economic and military hubs. The timing was impossible to ignore. The attacks came just as St. Petersburg was opening its flagship annual economic forum, often referred to as Russia's version of Davos. The event is designed to showcase economic stability, attract foreign partners, and project confidence to both domestic and international audiences. President Vladimir Putin is scheduled to deliver a keynote address there on Friday. Instead, the forum opened under the shadow of black smoke. According to reports, Ukrainian drones successfully penetrated deep into Russian territory and struck multiple targets, including a major oil transshipment facility on Russia's Baltic coast. The site, located roughly 1,100 kilometers or 680 miles from the Ukrainian border, sending thick plumes of smoke into the sky. The sheer distance involved makes this strike particularly significant. For a Ukrainian drone to travel more than 1,000 kilometers through Russian airspace and reach one of the Russia's most important cities without interception raises serious questions about the effectiveness of Moscow's internal air defense network. Even more striking is the fact that the drones reportedly passed through multiple layers of heavily defended military districts before reaching their targets. This was not simply a symbolic attack. Reports indicate that Ukrainian strikes also targeted the Kronstadt naval base and shipyard in the Leningrad region, home to elements of Russia's Baltic fleet. Additional attacks were reported against a weapons manufacturing facility in the Tambov region. The operation also created immediate logistical disruption. Authorities temporarily suspended operations at St. Petersburg airport, delaying flights and affecting the arrival of international guests attending the economic forum. From a military perspective, the operation highlights Ukraine's growing proficiency in asymmetrical warfare. Rather than relying solely on expensive conventional weapons, Kiev has increasingly turned to domestically produced long range kamikaze drones. These systems are relatively inexpensive compared to the traditional missiles, yet they are capable of threatening infrastructure and military assets located hundreds of miles behind Russian front lines. The strategy appears designed to impose costs on Russia for beyond the battlefield. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently described such operations as long-range sanctions, a campaign intended to disrupt the economic foundations supporting Russia's war effort. Politically, the symbolism could not be stronger. The strikes reportedly occurred only around 10 miles from the venue hosting Russia's premier economic gathering. For the Kremlin, that represents more than a security breach. It is a public challenge to the image of control and stability that Moscow seeks to project. The forum itself illustrates that how much Russia's geopolitical position has changed since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Before the war, the event was largely aimed at attracting Western investors and business leaders. Today, the guest list reflects Russia's strategic pivot toward the global south and non-Western partners, with delegations from countries such as Uzbekistan, Tanzania, Cuba, Belarus, and Saudi Arabia. A small number of Western figures remain present, but the composition of attendees highlights how dramatically Russia's international relationships have evolved over the past several years. To understand the significance of these attacks, it is important to look at the broader strategic picture. The Russia Ukraine conflict did not begin in 2022. It began in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea and supported separatist forces in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region. The full scale invasion launched in February 2022 transformed the conflict in Europe's largest war since World War II. Since then, Russia has concentrated many of its most advanced air defense systems, including S-400 and Pantsir platforms, around frontline areas, Crimea, and vulnerable borders regions such as Belgorod. That decision makes military sense, but it may also be creating new vulnerabilities. As top tier air defense assets are pulled closer to active combat zones, major industrial centers and political hubs deeply inside Russia become increasingly exposed to low flying autonomous drones and with smaller radar systems. Increasingly exposed to low flying autonomous drones with small radar signatures. Ukraine appears determined to exploit that gap. The latest operations comes only one day after a large-scale Russian missile and drone barrage reportedly killed 23 people across Ukraine. In response, Kyiv has renewed its calls for additional Western military assistance, particularly Patriot air defense interceptors from the United States and its allies. What makes this moment particularly noteworthy is that it challenges a growing narrative that Ukraine is running out of options. While some analysts have argued that the war's long term trajectory favors Russia due to its larger economy and manpower reserves, Ukraine continues to demonstrate an ability to adapt, innovate, and strike targets once considered beyond its reach. Whether these deep strikes can significantly alter the overall course of war remains uncertain. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear: the battlefield is no longer confined to trenches in eastern Ukraine. The war is expanding its Russia's strategic rear, reaching critical infrastructure, military facilities, and even the symbolic stages where the Kremlin seeks to showcase strength. And for Moscow, that may be the strike it never expected to see.